Good afternoon. Thank you for joining me for another office hours training. I am Crystal Gunn, your financial strategist, life insurance agent, and of course, my business advisor. And the thing that I love the most about what I do is when my clients or my students get it. Like, they get it. We've done the thing, we've done the strategy, we create the thing, and they get it. And you see those aha moments, those light bulbs popping on. They get it. The psychological shift happens, and then you cannot stop them. I love that the most. But anyway, October is Financial Planning Awareness Month. And this month, I will continue to go through some things that are essential in building your financial plan. And today I'm going to talk about couples, right? And so money can be a major stressor for couples. I've seen it time and time again. It can be, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. So by setting joint financial goals and creating a plan together, couples can turn potential friction into collaboration, making their finances a source of strength rather than stress. Financial planning as a couple is about building a shared vision for your future, establishing joint goals, and aligning strategies that can strengthen your relationship and provide a clear path to achieving your financial dreams. But in order to do this, and in order for, as a couple, for you to thrive financially, right, it all starts with open communication. You gotta talk about it. Discuss individual financial habits, goals, any debts or assets. Be transparent about income, spending, and savings expectations, right? You all have to create this thing that works for you. So what works for you as a couple may not work for your best friend and their mate, as a couple. But that open communication is going to be key, because when you think about it, you're taking two people who grew up totally different, who come from different backgrounds, different households, different values, different habits, different thought processes, right? And they've done a thing a certain kind of way for all of their lives. That in a lot of instances is going to be totally different than the way that you've done things. So in order for it to not be a thorn in your side, and not one of the things that will add friction to a relationship or partnership, is you got to start with that open communication. Discuss everything, but you have to discuss it from a standpoint of not right or wrong. This just is how this person is. This is how you are. And now how do we operate together? I can't tell you that you're wrong, because this person has operated this way for a long time. So 2 + 2 = 4, but so does 1 + 3. So you just have to figure out how you then take the two differences and make them work for you. Again, taking out right and wrong, right? And taking out the judgment, but being transparent and open with that communication. And once you do that, you can then start to create some short-term and long-term goals, right? And again, when you're trying to create goals, you got to know, what is it that we want? What are the goals, right? So building an emergency fund. Are we trying to buy a house in the next year? Or that could be a longer term, in the next 5 years. What are we trying to do? Are we trying to individually and or collectively pay off debt? Because some people are coming into this from the beginning. Some people are hearing this and they've been in their relationship for, 10, 12 years. Are we trying to pay off debt individually, or do we have collective debt that we need to pay off and manage? How are we planning for retirement? How are we planning for the loss or the passing of one spouse and how that will impact the other. How are we planning for the children that we already have, or the grandchildren, or the children that we want to have? What are those short and long term goals that are associated with that? Again, no right and wrong. We have to look at, and then it's the collective short and long term goals, and it's also the individual short and long term goals, right? And then there has to be some sort of combined financial system of success, some sort of combined financial budget, right? That shared budget for joint expenses like rent or mortgage payment, utilities, right? And then your own account. I don't believe, and again, this, you have to do what works specific to your household. I'm not a firm believer in that you just put all money in one pot, because everyone can't do that. There's some people that do it and they do it well. Others cannot, again, because you remember, you grew up two different type of ways. So if someone's over here a spender and they are not accustomed to, having any type of budget, and then you have someone that is, to just dump all of that money into one account, that's going to be disastrous. Right. And I still believe with anybody and everything, there still needs to be some sort of autonomy of what I get to do with my money. We know that we have these joint expenses together. Anything associated with the house, anything associated with the children, right? And then determining, well, how much is one putting in that account versus how much the other is putting in that account. That's going to be left up to the two individuals that's doing this. It's not going to be the same. In some households, it might be 60-40. In some households, it might be 40-60. In some households, it might be 20-10. In some households, it might be none. One person is paying for all of that. That's going to be determined through that open communication, what people are trying to accomplish, who makes what, you know what I mean? All of those sort of things. And so that joint or created, that joint or combined budget is going to help for those things. And that is because you want to make sure that what happens for this household is paid for, and for these children. Now, if you then have your own account over here and you just spend all your money, well, that's on you, but we still need to make sure that this household is running and the things that go along in that household. And that's where that combined budget is going to come into place. And then what are the joint strategies? So set up a joint account for shared goals, but maintain individual accounts for personal spending, right? So that's that joint strategy. So there could be some other things other than those household expenses that you jointly want to pay for, or that you jointly want to share for. Well, what is that? And what does that look like, right? Creating the strategies. You need your individual strategies, but you also need the joint strategy for you and your partner, or you and your spouse. And then do regular check-ins. Schedule monthly or quarterly money dates to review progress and make adjustments. You always got to go back. Are we being successful doing it this way? Do we need to tweak a thing? And you need to, those things that you are doing jointly need to be looked at, assessed, and tweaked jointly. And then the things that you're doing separately, your partner should be able, you all should be able to have a conversation about your own separate money, right? To be able to give insight, to be able to be a cheerleader, an accountability partner, right? And those regular check-in dates are going to do that so that you all can actually talk about it. So do me a favor, think about the financial relationship you have with your partner right now. Do you have individual plans, joint plans, or a combination of both? Do you even have plans? Right? That's the first thing. And then do you discuss finances at all? And then do you discuss them regularly? Because some couples don't even discuss finances until there's a fire, right? And going back, you have to be intentional with your money, with your plan, with your spending in order to do that, right? You definitely have to be able to openly discuss a thing. And do you know how to have this conversation? Again, it cannot be, or telling somebody that they're wrong for a thing that they've done and operated all of their life. especially when you might be the one who is doing things that are counterproductive. So, working together on individual and collective goals is an absolute positive. It's a game changer. It changes your own financial situation and it changes your family. I know I have a friend who talked about she and her husband, and when they decided they wanted to pay off all of the debt, they came together and they talked about it. And then they put some things into play. And one of the things, and it just makes so much sense to me, she says a few of the things that they stopped doing. Date night was still really important to them, but they just altered how they did date night a little differently, right? Entrees, they would not spend over $25 a piece on entrees if they went out to dinner. They did not drink at dinner. If they wanted wine or if they wanted liquor or whatever, they did it at home. They made that part of, right, or they made that part of their date. They went out, they ate, so they still had that opportunity to go out to a nice restaurant, have great conversation and great food. But then they said, you know what, when you start adding drinks to the meal, the bill becomes outrageous, where we can go home and have cocktails when we get home, right? And so one of the things that she said was they did that. They don't have any debt anymore. But after that, and after even the debt was paid off, she says they never really went back to buying liquor or wine or whatever when they were out for date night, because they would rather be way more intentional with that money and do the other things that they want to do as well. We don't have to drink when we're here. Now, for you, you might love a good wine with, you may love a good wine with this meal. That might be your thing, but it's just a I don't know, an observation or an example of coming together and working together for a common goal. And then sometimes those adjustments, because they didn't give up anything, they still were going out having a great time, they still were going to great restaurants, right? um they still were having their date night every week, but they were able to do that and pay off the debt. Sometimes we think it's either or, right? And I always say that financial system of success, when I teach people how to create that, it's not about sacrifice. It's about being able to do all of the things that you want to do. It's not about, restrictions and cutting things off. Sometimes you do. They cut their thing. They didn't say we're not going. They didn't even on date night and out to dinner. They didn't even say we're cutting back on how often we go. No, we're still going how we used to go. We're just tweaking some things so we're not spending as much money, because we have a goal to reallocate some of those funds to pay off this debt. Because now debt is gone, they're a whole lot more free. But because they had already reallocated that money to something else, now we can reallocate it. Debt is gone. Now we can reallocate it somewhere else, to something else, for retirement, for children, for building a house, whatever it is, right? So working together on individual goals and collective goals, truly, truly, truly an absolute game changer. So let's get into what my favorite thing is for today. And it's financially flawless questions, a couples edition. One of the things I like to provide products that help you help you reach your goals, right? And a lot of times people don't know the questions to ask. People don't know how to have a conversation with their spouse, with their mate, even when they've started dating someone seriously, and they think it may get to another level. We don't know all of the time the questions that we need to ask, or how to have those conversations. So financially flawless questions, this is the couples edition, gives you over 60 questions to ask at various stages. And just depending on where you are, you may need to ask all of the questions. And it has things like, if 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 you and your spouse are married and spouse's relative comes and asks for a very large sum of money to borrow, is it something that you all talk about, or does the spouse just give the money away? So it's those type of things, because you have to understand how somebody operates and why they think the way that they do. Again, not from a place of looking at fault or someone being wrong, but looking at it from a pure place of understanding, but being able to talk about these things. So it has all of these questions and it gives you some instruction. It's like, don't try to go through this entire book of questions in one setting. Do 2 or 3, walk away. If you find yourself getting heated in it, you got to go back and check why, and maybe we come back and look at this again, because it's not a right or wrong. It is about understanding so that you can come to common ground. So that's my favorite thing for the day. The description is, or the link to get it, shop crystallgun.com, or you can go to Crystal Gun. All of those links are in the description below. But order a copy of that. It helps you and it guides you through having this type of conversation so that you have an understanding of one another, but and of yourself, because some people don't know why, most people don't know why we operate the way that we do, so that you then can create something really great for you and your mate. Okay. So next, what do I want you to do? Because again, this whole financial planning thing, this whole get your financial house in order, it's levels to it, it's stages to it. So definitely want you to think about, how do you want to live the rest of your life financially? Again, it's a question, and you'll hear me say it over and over again, because most people don't have an answer to it, or they come back and can give you something, but it's really broad and high level. But I'm talking about with specificity. How do you do it? So when you start to think about it, write it out in detail with that specificity, because specificity is where the magic happens, right? You can say, I want a new house, and the house that comes to you is not the type of house that you want. But if you say, I want a new house, it needs to be 3,000 square feet. It needs to be in this community. I need to have this many bedrooms, this many bathrooms. Now the universe, the ancestors, and the creator has something to work with, right? The more detailed you get, the more you are increasing your frequency for that to bring that thing that's in that frequency to you, right? So write it out in detail with specificity. Again, over time, you're going to come back and you're going to add. It's going to be a working document, a living document, meaning you don't just do it one time. You're going to come back, you're going to add to it as things change, as life changes, and you got a new child or a new grandchild. Well, now there may be something else that you add to this to this plan, or to how you want to, this vision, right, of how you want to live the rest of your life. And then you get to come back and look and say, hey, we wrote this out and we actually were able to do it, right? So I always say, when you write a thing in there, date it when you write it. And then when you come back and you look at it and you've accomplished that thing, date it and put, in the notes that you accomplished this thing and when you did it, and celebrate in that accomplishment. So write out the goals to make the plan happen and get to work. When you're writing out the vision, though, and how you want to live the rest of your life, how it's going to happen is not your business at that time, right? That's not the business. You just want to write it and you want to dream really, really big. Once you write it out in details with specificity, after you've written it out, then you come back and you look and say, okay, we want to, buy a house in a year, because our lease will be up in a year. Well, now what's the goals? What do we need to do? We need to save some money. Okay, how much money do we need to save? Maybe we need to talk to somebody now, as opposed to right when it's time. We talk to them now. We got a whole year in order to be able to plan for that. So then you start to write out those goals and move in that way and start to plan for it. And that's being very specific and intentional with your money, your time, and your thoughts around your finances, so that you can live the life that you desire and deserve, and not the one that you get after paying bills. Okay. So if this information has been helpful, be sure to subscribe to the channel, share this channel with somebody else. Don't be a gatekeeper. You never know what somebody's praying for, been asking for, looking for, or is in need of. So share the information. It's all you really have to do. And then you go back and look at whatever past episodes speak to you, your needs, what you're thinking about, what you want to do. Make sure you go to my channel and just subscribe so that you can get information when I'm doing workshops and things of that nature, either virtually or new courses that are coming out, or you know what I mean, whatever that is, you're there, you're in the know. Okay. Lastly, always remember to give yourself grace. Give yourself grace for what you didn't know, what you didn't do, what you messed up, whatever that is. Give yourself grace. That's yesterday. Now go forward. Tomorrow, you cannot give yourself grace about what you learned today if you haven't put today in motion. Okay? Put it in motion. Keep striving for your next level. Never, ever, ever give up on you. You're so very worth it. You're worth the fight. You're worth it. Right? Never, ever, ever give up on you. And when I say you're worth the fight, I mean the fight to get your finances together, the fight to get your financial house in order. You're worth that fight. So never ever give up on you. Always invest in you. I promise you, it is the best investment that you will ever make, and you will never, ever, ever regret it. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am Crystal L. Gunn, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your time. Be sure to join me for the private online Q&A immediately following. The link is in the description. And if you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe to my channel and turn notifications on so you never miss this opportunity. Thank you again, and I will see you on the other side.